I am back. Let's go through all of today's Tesla stock news. I feel so much better today. Tesla's competitor seemingly joins Tesla. Tesla has hired a very experienced manufacturing executive from Stellantis to lead quality operations at Gigafactory, Texas. Now, the only thing that Tesla really needs to work on more is their build quality compared to other automakers. That is still in some areas behind, especially in Fremont. I'm not sure about Texas because, relatively speaking, so far so few vehicles have been made in Texas compared to Fremont that we are not really hearing many horror stories, even if they happened, which is be so few that maybe we just never really heard about them. Overall, we'll see how this goes for Tesla, but improving quality and poaching competitors' employees to improve Tesla's quality, I think, is not a bad move. The article doesn't say anything specifically about build quality, though it keeps it pretty generic. That new employee is going to be head of quality operations. This is really good news. Did you know that the new Model 3 now has a HEPA filter? I did not know about this. Earlier, a few years ago, there was some confusion that the Model 3 was supposed to have a HEPA filter as well, but turns out it didn't. Only the Model Ys did. And this, to me, is actually pretty big. HEPA filters it's a pretty good feature in a car. You basically don't smell. Someone can cold roll you. It can blow fumes at you, really bad fumes, and you don't smell anything. That's how good HEPA filters are, basically. So, yeah, especially in China, people are gonna love this. There's so much pollution in China. I'm just wondering if the bioweapon defense mode will it also be included? If it will be, wow, that's such a premium feature that you're getting. And shout out to Tesla's code. They talked about this HEPA filter in the refresh Model 3 back in June, actually. Joe Tagmeyer says the war at the factory's customer production of Cybertruck began earlier this week. Dozens of revised front Cybertruck castings on display today, as you can see here. Water leak testing of Cybertruck underway today as well. Here's some more good news, I would say. Elon Musk will meet an Indian commerce minister next week. I say that's pretty good news. Clearly, that indicates that there's something good going on in India between Tesla and India. Gary Black is speaking some facts here. Global EV adoption continues to increase and hit a record 11.8% in Q3, up from 10.7% in Q2 and up from 10.1% in Q3 of last year. The mainstream media narrative that EV adoption is suddenly stalling is nonsense. I agree with that. We expect global EV adoption to reach 13% in Q4 of this year, up from 11.2% in Q4 of last year. Looks promising. Tesla seems likely to raise Model Y long range and standard range prices in China because they basically told us that they are going to do that potentially as soon as Thursday night, so tomorrow. I have never seen Tesla employees confirming on social media rumors of pending price hikes before. If true, this will help the narrative that Tesla auto gross margins have bottomed. But I think it highly depends on how big the price increases actually are going to be. If they are just $250, I don't think it means that much, but if it's over $1,000, now we're talking. But even then, because the Model Y has been updated a little bit, we can make an argument that even if it's a bigger price increase, maybe it's not really as bullish because Tesla is just trying out new things with this newly updated model. But overall, I would say if the increase is more than $1,000, that seems more bullish to me than not. To me, it would personally signal higher demand. We now know how many refresh Model 3s Tesla delivered in China last week, and the number is almost 5,000, so fairly good. The next week, the number is likely going to be even higher than that. It is also good to see Model Y sales increase at the same time. And here we can see how many vehicles Tesla exported from China and how many it sold locally. Local sales are in green, and generally overall we want the green color actually to be, in terms of percentages, as low as possible, because that means a lot of vehicles were exported, which then indicates that the Model 3 ramp is going really well. And that's sort of what we are seeing here. There have been a lot more vehicles exported in October than sold locally. If there weren't many vehicles exported, this would have been a bit of a red flag, because we would be thinking, well, so the ramp is not going well, is it? Because the sales locally within China, well, last week were fairly alright, but all of the weeks before then, they were not exactly great. So to me, this looks good. Of course, the ramp is still ramping, so the total production number is not that huge, but I was more concerned about percentages here. And Troy made a prediction how many vehicles Tesla will deliver this quarter. His estimate is 487,000 versus the analyst consensus of 485,000. Tesla needs to deliver 476,000 vehicles to reach its target of 1.8 million cars. Cruise is recalling 950 driverless cars from the roads across the United States following a crash involving one of its robotaxis, and will likely issue more recalls, General Motors self-driving unit said. So this is another crash? No, I just read the article. It's not a new crash, but they are recalling more driverless cars from the roads. Omar just posted this ride, which was 52 miles or 2 hours long, with his dad, which sort of, you could say, makes a case for FSD, which is level 2, being better and perhaps stronger of a system than GM's Cruise, which requires an intervention every 5 miles. Now, this is of course in an area where Tesla has a lot more data, but Cruise still needs interventions, even in these areas where they do have a lot of data. And here, Omar had literally 0 interventions, 0 of anything. I think there are a few different reactions to Cruise's overall failure. One is, oh, if Cruise can't do it, then no one will be able to do it with just vision only, because if LiDAR and HD maps, if these two things can't make this whole thing work, then Tesla is definitely never going to make it work. Another way to look at it is, oh, without LiDAR, Tesla is able to do this 2-hour drive with no interventions at all? Tesla clearly is a winner. What just happened to Cruise, I think, is just creating more division actually and more opportunity, because people that did not believe in it before now believe in it even less, but people that understand it now see that Tesla is in an even better position than before. Did you know that grid-scale energy storage systems are now growing faster than EVs and are 13% of the battery market? And seemingly, Tesla is tied for 4th place in the world for battery storage systems. Pretty impressive, and no one is really paying any attention to Tesla's energy business overall, other than just, a few retail Tesla stock investors like me and you. Tesla made an announcement that our Powerwall fleet in Europe just surpassed 1 gigawatt hour. This is enough stored energy to power an average of 41,000 homes for 12 hours. And that's particularly impressive considering that the Powerwall is only limited to some markets in Europe. Chicken Genius has 2 posts about Tesla. He first posted this: Tesla missed, reduced guidance, Lucid missed, horrendously reduced guidance, Rivian beats and raised guidance. He then continues that fundamentally though, Tesla is always a better investment, but money to be made in Rivian supposedly is better. Most money was made on Tesla before Tesla was profitable and everyone was fudding all over the place. I think there's still a lot of FUD around Tesla, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. There's of course a lot of money to be made in other stocks. I just like how relatively safe in the long term Tesla's stock is, based on my analysis, for me personally. And Lucid and Rivian today actually reported, yesterday technically, reported their earnings. And Lucid, is down as expected, so nothing really surprising here. But Rivian is down too, as I'm recording, almost 4%. So actually Lucid beat earnings expectations. That is, they lost less money than expected. They still lost money. But Lucid cut their production guidance for this year by up to 20% to about 8,000, down from 10,000 vehicles. Yeah, Lucid can really be proud of themselves that they are still a strong loss leader. They are clearly number one. Number two is very far away from them. And at the first glance, Rivian posted fairly alright numbers. I mean, they beat some of the expectations here. They lost less money than expected, but I mean, you're still losing money, so that's not exactly great. But they did increase their production guidance to 54,000, up from 50,000 for 2023. And on average, they experience a net loss of $14.8 million per day, at least in Q3 they did. Lucid says, we are seeing results from our targeted marketing approach as the majority of new demand came from customers who had their first contact with Lucid in the quarter. In other words, people that know about them don't want their cars because they know you're gonna have problems later, especially when the company goes bankrupt. Who will service your car then? One of my friends actually wanted to buy a Lucid, and I asked him this very question: what will you do when the company goes out of business? Which is very likely to happen. And he's like, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm not going to buy a Lucid right now. Rivian just ended Amazon's electric delivery van exclusivity agreement. Amazon and Rivian remain focused on bringing 100,000 Rivian electric delivery vehicles to the road, but now anyone, I guess, will be able to buy that vehicle. In the meantime, Lucid says its Gravity luxury electric SUV is still on track to start production in late 2024. But Lucid says a lot of things. And Rivian has released pricing and specs for these two vans. One has 161 miles of range only, and the other one 153 miles, so very similar. They are both over $80,000. And while the chances of Rivian surviving are really high, the chances of Lucid surviving, yeah, well, James thinks that the only reasonable price target is 0. A reporter was just given a tour of Giga Shanghai, so let's take a look.
Today, let's go and find out.
The staff at Tesla generously agreed to give me a tour of the factory floor. Before they did, however, they told me that cost optimization was one key factor, and another was the incorporation of all the super smart automated equipment.
Now at this area of the factory, you can barely see any staff, right? That is because the majority of the production process here are completed by robotic arms, as you can see behind me. And all of them are also connected to one cloud system that registers every single movement of the robotic arms and tools. And employees will oversee the whole process to make sure that everything is assembled as it should be.
It's the Lingang free trade zone that they're operating in, which gives them the ability to run a very efficient business for selling internationally without having to deal with a lot of customs. The Shanghai environment, it is an automotive hub for China. It already has a very mature logistics and infrastructure for the automotive industry supply chain. So I think, location here is really a perfect location.
It is all about location, when a company must choose where to put its business premises. And Tesla certainly seems to have that down to a fine art. At Shanghai, everything the factory needs is virtually at its fingertips.
As a wholly foreign-owned project, the team at Tesla Shanghai is 99.9% Chinese, and their supply chain is also over 95% localized, which means that over 95% of all the parts in the whole factory come from local suppliers.
Tesla's chief Elon Musk even had rousing words to say about the facility during a recent visit.
Cars we produce here are not just the most efficient for production, but also the highest quality.
Well, Shanghai's Gigafactory success has convinced many that Tesla's big bet on China was indeed a wise one. But as the first wholly foreign-owned auto manufacturing project in the country, what did China gain from Tesla's investment?
And I took that question to the chief of the Finance and Trade Division of the Administrative Committee of the Lingang Special Area. He believed that Tesla's factory in China had somehow managed to empower the development of the advanced manufacturing industry here.
After Tesla entered the Chinese market, our overall new energy battery technology, our new energy vehicle software technology, and the whole car factories have made rapid progress. There is no doubt that Tesla, a foreign-funded enterprise with very strong technical strength, has given us some help. In addition, Tesla has a great role in promoting local employment, as well as the training of blue-collar senior technicians in our country.
Up until 2020, when the Model 3 launched in Shanghai, Chinese consumers were really not that interested in electric vehicles. But once Tesla was here, retail consumer interest really accelerated from 1.2 million new energy vehicles a year to last year 6.9 million. Now that's benefited a lot of Chinese brands as well as Tesla.
That was a pretty interesting report to watch. My name is Matt Posius. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.